Hello, everyone. Welcome to WinCat Sports, and it's the Lions video this time. We're talking about all the news and rumors going throughout the week. We'll kind of start with the first one that kind of doesn't fully matter, but kind of a little bit of a talking point. The Lions did get knocked in OTA session off their OTAs because they had one physical practice when
That'll
they weren't
cost.
supposed to.
That'll cost. What's the penalty? Just a loss of practice.
Yeah. Oh no.
Oh no.
That's basically the reaction for most Lions fans is, oh no, we missed one practice.
Oh
Whatever
well.
will we do? That they were physical a little bit too early on in their practices. I guess it's something with the collective
Well, I guess
bargaining.
they need a practice off for rest. Hey, we got one.
I guess it's more or less like collective bargaining agreement kind of thing to do why they couldn't have a physical practice that early. But it is what it is, I guess. I mean,
Yeah.
you miss. I mean, maybe
Well, they're not losing
a
anything of
part
significance. Good.
a
Good.
part of me
They
feels
are.
like they knew that rule and
Yeah.
they just did the physical practice so that they have an extra day off.
I'm sure they did. I'm sure they knew exactly what was going to happen.
Like,
So
oh no, we can't practice. Oh no. Other kind of weird things that have come out through the week. Uh, the kicking situation, the kicking battle between our undrafted free agent Turner out of Michigan and Badgley seems to be going towards the undrafted free agent route
I think
as he
that's
is
much
showing more
more
of a leg.
right. That's much more likely than the Bates thing. I mean, I don't care who we talk to as far as kicker goes. I mean, that's up to them. They find a gem, great. I'd like to see the Turner kid do good. I think, but I like Badgley too. I don't. It's up. A kicker is basically, hey, are you? Can you put it through consistently from 50 yards in? Can you do
Yeah.
that? Can you do that? And if you have that extra oomph, like a Tucker, uh, to be able to kick a 60-yarder, hey, more power to you. That's great. I just want consistency and
Eh,
to use them. I mean, if you got one, you got. I'd like to see them use the kicker more often than they have.
Yeah. So they only have their two currently. Obviously, I think they'll probably try out Bates just because he has done pretty decent in the UFL. But the only two on the teams are James Turner and Badgley. And right now, Turner seems to be the one that's pulling through, showing that he has the better leg. And we'll see what happens. I mean, Badgley, he played all right last year, but he definitely is playing into that factor of why Dan Campbell goes so much on fourth down, right?
Right.
If you can't fully trust your kicker to kick those long field goals, you're going to have a situation like you did in the NFC Championship game where 75% of the time you made that fourth down, 50% of the time your kicker makes that field goal, you're going to go with the fourth down because you're more likely to make the fourth down
Right.
instead of your kicker having a better percentage play. And it's all math now with how they decide stuff. Um, and then on top of other news that's kind of been coming out, that the Lions are also rumored to think about putting Mcneil in some fullback situations. He was a running back in high school. That would be pretty interesting to see him be a fullback. Last year they used Rodriguez and Cabinda in that fullback role. I don't think they have Cabinda on the team this year, so they're kind of trying to think who they're going to swap from their defense into that blocking dash running situation.
Just adds another, wrinkle to Ben Johnson's offense, and he certainly would be a load going
Uh,
into the
I mean,
line.
I mean, imagine him running through that line right there and trying to
I
tackle
don't think they're
him.
going to hand the ball off too often, but
No, they'll
maybe.
be
I mean, he has experience at it in college, and I think they're using him as somebody, an extra guy to on short yardage situations.
probably
Uh, yeah,
a tougher
smart,
guy to bring down. I mean, it's a lot more weight being running around. If his knee's
right,
okay,
right.
then I would 100%.
You don't have to sign one because you're not going to use them that often. You
What's
got a
this?
guy like McNeil,
They could throw Rodriguez in there like they did last year. They probably could throw a different linebacker in there than they
right?
did last year. They truly felt like it. I did not know McNeil was a running back in high school. So I mean, he has the experience. I'm sure they probably will work with him a little bit to see if it is even possible. I mean, they have options that you don't technically have to have. I mean, you can technically put one of your offensive linemen into a fullback position if you felt like it, because most of the
Two
time they're
hundred and ninety
blocking.
pound fullback.
I mean, most of the time they're blocking anyways. You're putting them more in motion when you do that. So I mean, they can do whatever they really feel like with that fullback position. Even though technically they don't have one.
Right.
Uh,
Right. I think it's smart.
And then another signing that actually happened about a few hours before the making of this video, Ben Newman was signed by the Lions. He was originally a four-run with the Chiefs. He won the Super Bowl in 2019 with the Chiefs. So he is fairly new. He had a career year with the Cardinals in 2022, but I wouldn't expect him to be any kind of starter on the Lions.
No, if he even makes the team. We'll see. Who are our linebackers for this year? It's Jack Campbell,
Alex Anzalone.
And Derek Barnes.
Barnes, you still got Rodriguez.
And you got Rodriguez. So, yeah.
Technically, Houston's a linebacker, but he more plays as a defensive end.
What's the update on him? Does he seem pretty 100%
yet? I think he's been practicing. The only guy who's not practicing and probably will not be ready for training camp, at least the start of it, is Reeder. They're saying Reeder is not going to be ready for the start of training camp, most likely.
Okay.
So he is still healing up. Ben Newman last played for the Denver Broncos. He's 6'2", 235. Has 86 career games so far. He had no stats last year.
Like Seinfeld. Newman.
I got no good stats last year, at least from what I can see.
Right.
He sucks.
Come on. I always like I said, I see guys like that, and I think I saw the podcast from one of the main podcasts for the Lions and stuff like that, and they had a picture on there. So Lions just made an under the radar signing.
So last year he did absolutely nothing. Forced fumbles. He had 2 sacks. Well, that's career-wise. He had 2 sacks. Career-wise. Last year he did absolutely nothing. So what an amazing signing by the Lions to get somebody.
It's just a body. It's a body. It's a nothing burger. This is why it's so frustrating. And one thing about being sucky like the Lions were for so many years is that you just had a lot to talk about in the offseason because, I mean, they were just – but now they know what their team is. It's the continuity, and you can only really get excited once we start getting closer. And until they do something, which I mean, their team is pretty set.
Literally, all he did last year through 7 games with Denver was 1 solo tackle and 1 assisted tackle. Through 7 games, he had 2 total tackles last year.
This could put us over the top.
In 2022, so maybe he got hurt for some reason or something. He did play all 17 games, had 70 total tackles, obviously no sacks, 1 fumble recovery.
Nice.
So, I mean, he had a good year in 2022 with the Cardinals. That's what I said. It's a career year. He had about almost 15 more tackles than he had any previous year. About 38 of those were solo. But he hasn't really done anything else to make him, I would say, viable for stealing somebody's spot on the roster. There's not much going on with that kind of signing.
Well, like overall. I said, I think the biggest news is that Turner thing. I think, like I said, we're gonna have a battle for the field goal thing. I think that's probably the most interesting thing happening in the offseason for the Lions. Because we know what they are. We know where they're going this year. It's Super Bowl now or bust. They've created these expectations, so that's not unfair. It's going to be a tough year. It's going to be a fun year, though. Tough, but fun, because their schedule is rough.
I mean, and you're hoping for people to be playing well, who you're not 100% sure of. We already talked about James Turner being kind of surprised in the kicker spot. We've talked about Jameson Williams doing real well in training camp and looking like he might be more of a threat than he was in the past couple years at wide receiver. Apparently, Jack Campbell is doing really, really well in training camp too, which is good to see. I mean, you want linebacker is kind of that iffy spot for you. You have Alex Anzalone.
Right.
Jack Campbell did okay last year, but not like amazing.
Anzalone's played
And
above himself as far as I'm
and then
concerned.
you have Barnes, who's he's okay, but he's again not amazing. Rodriguez, who had a great rookie year, but besides his rookie year, he has like last year, you barely even heard about him.
Well, I
He
think it's good.
like
And what you're hoping for and what you're seeing, and we hope we continue, is just like I said, let's get better. These guys are all looking like they're going in the right direction. Anzalone is Anzalone. He's a really good player, or at least he's been very steady for us. And if Jack Campbell can up his game and Derek Barnes can up his game, and uh, Rodriguez can, maybe bounce back a little and at least contribute to special teams, something, and be a fill-in.
yeah,
That's something. That's something.
and I mean
Um,
you got guys, you got even your secondary guys. Apparently, Meek Robinson's been looking pretty good at training camp too, which is good. You want your secondary looking good. Him and Carlton Davis need to really, really lock down the corners for you to be good
well,
last year.
Arnold, right?
But and then you got Arnold, and then you got the other guy you got from Missouri.
Don't you expect Arnold to start at one of the corner spots this year?
Like he's going to be vying for it.
Should be.
I would not rush anybody into any spot if they're not
First
ready.
round pick, he should be in there.
Not rushing it. If Meek Robinson shows that he has an ability and you just rotate a little bit more, that is fine with me. Do
Okay,
not.
yeah.
I
We
mean,
just want- We just want performance.
I would like to not see a ball bounce off someone's face mask and go into someone else's hands to get a touchdown again this year. If
That was
is-
rigged.
if we could
That's the
avoid
NFL rigging the
stuff
game.
like that happening again this year from our secondary, much appreciated. Vildor probably will not be on the team next year.
Yeah,
Even though we signed
Cam
him.
Sutton found his home back in Pittsburgh.
His son apparently is still going to be in the league playing at league minimum with the Pittsburgh Steelers. So we'll see him in the
He's ready to
preseason.
assault you.
We're going to see him in the preseason. He'll actually be coming back to Detroit because we have a home game against the Steelers.
Yeah!
Season. So
Well, like I said,
it's going to be a great time for him.
Got to hope his legal problem.
So, well, no, his charges were dropped. So he's fine.
His charges were dropped.
Yeah, his girlfriend dropped the charges.
Whoa! I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that's why he's still playing. And charges were dropped.
What the heck?
And then, but going away from that, one last guy who's kind of stuck out so far, apparently in training camp, is Khalif Raymond too. So we got two wide receivers standing out.
So we
This is
lost
good.
our cornerback because some woman accused this guy of assaulting her and then drops the charges and he goes and ends up on Pittsburgh.
Yeah,
I hope the Lions should press charges against her.
realistically, she probably saved us from a terrible player and saved us $10 million
That
in cap
could be.
space.
That could be. Maybe we should thank her. Maybe.
We got $10 million in cap space opened up because we cut him.
Wait a second.
But-
That's another conspiracy theory. Maybe the Lions are behind this whole thing.
Cut him for $10 million. Now we're at $40 million cap space going into the season. Make some trades, figure all that stuff out. But there's not as much as going on Lions news wise outside of that. I mean, it is what it is. Slow news cycle when you're keeping most of your team together and nothing else really is happening for the Lions besides that. But I mean, people are excited for the inside of our line being Reeder and Mcneil. If we could just find a great partner for Hutchinson at some point next year or so, that would be great. But with all that being said, though, if you'd like to see, like, comment, subscribe, let me know what you think so far about the offseason down in the comments. And until next time, see everybody soon.